Awesome. So on the previous episode of Add Permalink to VS Code extension, can you see my screen? Yeah. I guess so. Yeah, cool. It's like the meeting rooms, Zoom meetings being like the new age of, how is it called? Like the ghost seances. Like, Eric, are you with us? Like, Paul, can you hear me? Are you here? Can you see my screen? Okay, so
we full screen it so it's a little bit bigger font.
I can make it a little bit bigger.
That's classic reason why seances fail is the fonts are too small.
Yeah. The chat can't read the font. The like is it called? Beyond life environment has small screens. Chat, can you see the screen now? Like, can you see the font? Well,
like a vase falls off the shelf on the wall.
Okay, I'll take that as a sign that yes. What we are working on last time was we have this method, relatively simple. We get the active file, and then for the file URL, which is get active file, come here, returns repository file. Just trying to orientate myself. It's strange. Am I looking at the right thing? Why is it saying? Right, this is the argument, and we didn't say what it returns. It returns the VS Code URI, and once or URL probably, actually, it returns the project web URL. So it returns most likely just a string with, here we go, file URL with the line that we are at. And
were you missing that return type? Should you specify it?
I can do that. Why not? It's inferred, and probably if I hover over this, yeah, it's going to be a string, but I can specify it. Cool. And so we pretty much want to test this method. That's the interesting one, but it's not exported because it's like that's a implementation detail of this. So what we want to do, we want to somehow simulate environment. Like we are writing tests for this method at the moment. Before we start changing it, it was untested. So we want to simulate everything that this method needs, and then we will listen or mock the clipboard write text function and just make sure that the copy link to active file method writes the correct file URL in there. So we started writing a test for it. Here, I've got the changes that we've made. We just added the clipboard write text mock into our _ mocks VS Code module. So now this is what we are using instead of the real VS Code, because the VS Code is injected at runtime. In our unit tests, we don't have that. So we have to mock everything from the VS Code API. And here we are writing test. If I open it, it's failing. And it's failing because some part of our fake repository is not corresponding with how the real Git repository that comes from this Git extension looks like. And it says raw repository get config is not a function. So now I'm going to have a look at the Git. What is it here? It's going to be probably called Git. Yeah. And the repository, only 32 of them. Okay. So, but in get config, it's a function. And I guess we are asking for a key. We get the return string. Let's have a look how that's used.
What does get config do? Does it give the config like username, etc.?
It's a good question. I don't know what part does it. I guess I can have a look if I. It's not described in this, which is strange. This is coming from Microsoft. It's when we
I see.
when we inject and we do that. It would be something like a git, not here. Git, not here. Git wrapper, git extension wrapper. Somewhere here we are saying git binary, git repository. Where do we initialize this thing? Register init. Here we go. So we say get us the VS Code.git extension. That's the built-in extension. And then somewhere we type it as. I was just wondering where do we type it with that file, like with these typings that we copied from. It's a copy paste directly from that VS Code extension. That's how they actually say to use the built-in extensions. I can quickly show that. Actually, I can show it in our fork.
You only had to copy the types. Only copy the types from that extension.
Exactly. Exactly. So here, if I'll just do Vim and I would do git readme, that's the one. It says pretty much just copy our typings into your extension. I'll make it bigger for some people who have small screens. And so that's what we've done. And then here, yeah, right, get extension. So that's where I'm typing it. I just didn't see it before, but here is where I'm using the
get extension now. Okay.
where I'm using the type. And so, but the types are not, as you see, not very. I don't know what the config does. So I'll have a look at our usage of it. It's going to be somewhere in the opener. I would assume that when we are getting the tracking branch, that's what we are getting config. Okay, so there is all right, when you are, I think that this is a setting for when your branch is tracking another branch in the origin. That's what you get. There is a git config like this. I can try to find it in my, it's not important for this particular issue. For this particular issue is going to be just mocking that the git config returns what we want or empty string, but I can have a look what the branch name merge is. So for example, if I would go,
I mean, you can just go to Git repository and say git config and
exactly. So I'm not sure whether this is tracking. Yeah, it is tracking. So if git config get, would it be? I don't know.
I think you just provide config name. So you can do git config.
And then it was branch
dot
699 dash permalink merge.
Yeah, so refs head.
Yeah. Whatever that means. I would.
But that's not the remote branch, though.
No. But this one is tracking. I'm pretty sure that it's tracking the
so within the
remote.
.git folder, there will be a refs one. It's basically pointing to that, and it will have everything over there.
Yeah, I mean, just the head for the branch, basically. That's all it has.
Yeah, that's what you merge into. Like if you cat your .git config, you'll see where this is coming from.
Okay, I can do that.
What were we looking for again?
So it's the
Trying to
merge
figure out what.
the branch.
Trying to figure out what the git config, like we found out that this raw repository get config method is missing in our test where we are creating. Where is the test? I'm just going to find it here. Here we are creating fake repository, and whatever this method does, it doesn't add the get config function. And I was trying to figure out what the get config does. So now we know that it's just like a result of git config command. And then I get kind of sidetracked into thinking, why do we, like, where was it? I need to really close all of these. Command KW, and let's save it. Now I'm just gonna open openers test, and here we were following this. It's some git module that like a not git module, but our own module, like a utility module for working with git. And here we are saying the tracking branch.
So we can just add this function to our repository, our mock raw repository or whatever that was, right?
Yes, and currently it could return empty string as I see, and this would still.
It just it's a branch name, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So let's do that for now. That would be in the fake repository. Am I create fake repository? This is what I'm after. So fake git extension.
So this technically is the remote tracking branch. It's like the name of the ref on the remote.
Ah, okay.
That's what you saw in the config. It's got the name of the remote and then the ref for the merging.
I didn't know that they are related.
So let's just config, get config, and then async function.
Async function.
How come TypeScript wasn't complaining?
Because of this, as unknown as a repository.
That's
otherwise, like I would have to go and you saw what the repository is, like this, and I would have to put give like meaningful.
function.
I guess yeah.
I wish the partial had worked. That way, at least it would validate some things. But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, but then I guess it would be like complaining about maybe these things not being like the sub properties not being completely typed.
That's true. That's true. Okay, let's not go into that rabbit.
What happens when we run the test now? Received expected empty string received this. That looks like good, except for the
path.
Yeah, the path. But I think that's just a result of our the test logic, because the URI that we are using here
is a file. Yeah,
is a fake URI from our VS Code mock, and the fake URI that's somewhere here. When you say file path split, okay, that doesn't seem like this would be the problem.
You might need to do do you want to try an absolute file on line 22?
So you mean,
I think you can just change the path in the middle and path inside of it. Like you just put the leading slash, I think.
Right. I think you mean like this?
Well, except without the dot, right?
Right. Like, let's have a look.
I think so.
Changes.
But I usually use instead of other URI helpers, I usually use just URI parse, and I just put the protocol and all of the stuff I need in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's still. Oh yeah. So yeah. What is the?
I think that there is some logic in the opener that kind of tries to subtract, like make it relative path towards the project root. I'm gonna show you here somewhere. So encoded branch name file path. We get the file path by
Relative, yeah. So root
path relative.
because we provide root FS path, and then so it's calculating the relative path. So it's like,
Yeah, exactly. So I need to first like whether if the path is
so you can go back and set the root FS path, like where
Yeah.
we have root FS path.
I was just wondering whether the path is something to do with VS Code, but I think that the path here is the node path, so that would work. That will work in the tests as well. And so here, if I set the root FS path to
It didn't
be,
use that. It didn't use that, right? Slash path. Oh, it went dot like.
Oh,
and maybe I have to do path
yes,
to
yes.
repo
yes, yes,
file.
that'll do it.
Or dot
Yeah.
slash. Or dot slash would have worked as well, I think. Anyway.
I think that it is going for absolute. Here we go.
Oh, cool.
Because how I think that the relative Shakar, I think that this works. Where do we have the openers? Here, like this is absolute path, and this is absolute path, and
Can we try dot slash? Can we try dot slash and see what it does? Is it
okay. Here you mean, and
yeah, so dot slash file.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't think that that's how what the data that comes in there is. But let's have a look.
You're right. It needs the full absolute. It needs the absolute path to the file.
Yeah.
So probably path to repo. We should extract that out to a const and then use that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's do that. It could be even here since we aren't using it anywhere else. Repository repo root path is this.
That might be nice as like a shared text constant. Do we have anything like that in the repository?
There's like a constants. There's like a constants file. I've seen that, but not for tests, or maybe there is.
Not for tests.
That here, I don't think we would. All right. I mean, I think that when we are creating the fake repository, the path to repo is by default set to path to repo here. So we could have something exported here that would be the constant of like default root path. And then, but do you think it's like better than having it linked directly in this, like directly here when you have the clear, like you created a constant and then you see that it's reused, like you don't have to click through. I think this is a little bit more explicit, but I'm open to exporting it as a constant here and using that.
What if someone runs these tests on Windows? Like, will slash path to repo work? I mean, anyway.
Yeah, there is the logic here. Excuse me. Yeah, in OpenRS, this replaces the.
Oh, I see the slash.
Because the relative path, you don't mind the weird C or D drive on Windows. It's relative, and it's relative with the wrong slashes, so you are just replacing them here. But like Windows bugs, that's where I was working. When I was working on this logic, it was my daily bread. I released something, and then somebody would say, it doesn't work because Windows uses different slashes. And then there is often a problem that like we have these paths that you have paths to repo. Like for example, when you're doing merge requests, you have the diff paths when they are always the normal Unix paths. And sometimes you are manipulating the file system. So then that's the Windows path. But also when you are using URLs, it's again the normal slash for URLs. So it's a little bit of a mind twister.
Would have the unit test caught the window issues? Do we think would it be beneficial to have a Windows job run the unit test under Windows?
Yeah, there is not for maybe even for unit test. Let's have a look. I'm just going to open GitLab CI YAML. There is going to be something Windows. Is there? No. Test view, test integration Windows. So
Windows.
it runs integration tests on Windows. Doesn't run the, maybe there is a case to be made for running unit tests on Windows as well.
Yeah. Windows 1809. Man, that's old. That's an old version.
Yeah, it's a 200, what, 213, 14 years old version.
Yeah. It's the
Back
Windows
then, the
are
Windows,
forefathers.
that was a different system. You run it on horses, I guess.
How much horsepower does your Windows have?
I was wondering in the test, should we do instead of / path to repo, whether we should do like a path.join and then create path to repo, or you think that's fine?
I mean, like here, path join, and then it would be the
Yeah, that's nice.
repo root path, and then just file.
You would have to do that at line number 11 as well for all path to repo.
11.
Like
Right. That's
define a
what you mean.
constant.
Gotcha.
How do you do? You'll have to import path, I suppose.
Yeah, if I save it, it should import itself, hopefully.
Fancy.
What?
No, it doesn't. Okay, I'm too used to Go now. It doesn't. So.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's Go imports that does that. Very cool.
And it's probably, it needs to be import path from path. That should do it. And here we can do, it's going to be what path join. And now I can try to see whether if I'll do substitute on a line, and I'll substitute dot with, I'll substitute slash. By the way, if you don't see what I'm doing, this is where you see the Vim command line. I'm gonna just try
I was
to.
going to say it's really small.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do it once, and then I'm just gonna use this search and replace like a normal person. So there. No, I'm giving up now. I lost my focus on that thing. Okay, never mind. I'll just do it like this. Fail. Path. Repo. And then we need here. Josin. All right, this looks like a file that I could live with. So I'm going to do the right thing and copy what the test is giving me into the expectation.
Of course. Cool. Did it auto format or did you format it right now with some magic?
It auto formatted with Prettier.
Oh, cool.
All right. So now I'd say that we have correct, or we have test working. We can say test 4, copy link to active.
I have a question while you're commenting that. How is it that in the other test, when you specified path to repo as a constant, I mean a string, it did not fail in Windows because you were doing that replace?
In what test?
You showed a default fake repository, right? Can you open that file? Yeah, over here, at line number 15, we have that as a...
Yeah, this is only for unit tests, and unit tests are not running on Windows at the moment. Only the integration tests are running it on Windows. I really don't enjoy running something on Windows. Okay.
I mean, contributors could be running tests on Windows, so I guess that's the one thing we have to handle. Right?
Yeah, true. I guess we don't have any since nobody was complaining. People on Windows don't contribute. No, it's recorded. I'm gonna stop. I'm kidding you. Keep using your operating system of choice without any judgment. Cool. So I'm gonna commit this, and we now can start thinking about how to change this to, instead of
Everybody
using
can
the branch
contribute,
name here,
not as easily.
say that
What'd you
again,
say, Chad?
Everybody can contribute, just not as easily as everybody else.
Varying levels of difficulty.
Right. So now we are getting to the point of this issue, which we agreed last time. We want to replace the branch name here with the ref. So it's going to be a commit SHA. And we need to find out. We also know that it's not looking at the latest head of the repository, like for example, git lens, and I guess other things that are making permalinks are not looking at the repository, but they are looking at that particular file, like file SHA.
Right. Let's start with just the head of the repository and
All
see
right.
how that goes.
Yeah. Let's start with that.
Can we
Okay,
move
so
this?
now I'm going to be hacking. Instead of, like, I don't think I'll be doing test-driven development here, because we are going to be mocking the way how, like, I would be guessing how it works here in the fake repository and then implementing on top of that. So I'm actually going to be running the real VS Code and fiddling with that till we have some reasonable functionality, and then we can alter the fake repository implementation to match it. If that's fine by you.
You mean if we don't know the repository functions and what would give us like the right ref?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking if I was doing TDD here, I would be guessing how the repository is implemented. Then my implementation of the feature could pass happily, and then I would figure out that it just doesn't work the way in the VS Code. So what you saw here, there was a little note saying all extensions are disabled. That's on purpose. When we are developing the extension, you are only working on you only load your extension. It's done by this flag in your launch configuration. So it was one thing. Another cool thing is that when you start the extension, we have these build tasks. If I'll open it, tasks, build, ES build watch. It runs npm watch. No. It runs, npm watch compile. And that means that any change that I'll make, it will recompile it. We probably, if I'll open this output, there is somewhere going to be here. Watch compile task, maybe. I don't know. Can't find it now. But somewhere it runs. Believe me. And the moment you change a code, it gets recompiled. And then, so I'll show you on something, let's say, what would be a good way to show it. Let me have a look at the user interface here. Let's say that I would want to say copy link to active file. I'm going to remove the breakpoint. And it probably copied it. I'll try again. But if I wanted to, instead of copying it, I would want to, what I'm going to do now is show you how I make a quick change and how it instantly works in the VS Code. So I'm going to go to the openers. Get rid of this. Where is our copy link to active file? And here I say VS Code window, show information message, hello. And it needs to be awaited, because otherwise we have ESLint task, ESLint rule that validates that all functions that produce promises are awaited. So you don't have a runaway promises or whatever that's called. And so now here I press Command R. That's the only thing you have to do. That reloads the extension and the VS Code from the latest source. And now if I run the same command, it says hello. So this is what we are going to be working with. We are going to be changing the implementation, then refreshing this debug window and see how it goes. So to what Paul said,
we need the SHA for the blob, right? We need the SHA. Is there like a console? Like, can you just do like a node and go into console and just play around with the object? You can't.
Yes. But also it's a statically, it is. statically typed. So I think I'm just going to be able to get through the dot notation there. I think
Right.
I roughly know where to look. We just need to go to this method, and here when we are getting the branch name, are we using it anywhere else or just here? So we won't need that. And instead we are going to say const
Repository.
SHA is repository dot raw repository dot head, maybe.
Maybe get blob and then dot SHA.
There should be maybe state.
No, I haven't done it.
State dot head. That's it. Oh.
But that would be just the head of the repository, right? That would be
Yes,
the head of
yes.
the branch.
That's like the. I think Paul suggested that we first do that as a, like as the really naive implementation of this permalink, and once that's working, we just replace the SHA. I don't think even we are going to test this. We are just going to see whether it can put a SHA in there from the head, and once that works, which we can test right now, here.
I mean, it probably is equally easy to get the SHA of the blob, and that's what you could probably use, right?
Yeah.
Do we have the? Oh, we do have active editor with the file path.
Yeah, I'm just gonna refresh the extension and test it. That's like 10 seconds, and then we can move on to the real
Head
thing.
isn't a string. Head is a branch. It looks like, for some reason, the type is branch for head, or undefined.
Right. So it would be
head.toString.
Commit.
No, that wouldn't. That's the last commit on the head, right? So it should be head.ref.
Okay.
Oh no.
But that's not a thing.
Let's have a look what
It might be
what the type is. So we have branch is upstream behind. Extends ref. Ref does have type. Commit is a string. The commit is going to be the SHA, I reckon. Let's try it.
But that's going to be SHA for the commit, right?
And that's what we would like to start with, right?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Like here the progression is worst is branch name, medium is head of the whole repo, and best is gonna be I guess SHA of the latest commit that touched the file. That's what we are going to go after in the end. And actually, like when you get the git log for the file, the latest entry there is what we want in here. And there is probably better ways to do it, and we will find it out. But first, I think that this is a really cheap way of.
There should be a more exact way of doing it, right? You could get the SHA for the blob. What I mean is not the SHA for the commit, but the SHA for the blob that we're talking about, and then put that in the permalink.
Yes. I'm just now trying to very quickly do this. I think it's like once I figure out how to get the commit from the head, this is going to be done, the medium, and we can move on to the real thing.
Sorry for yeah.
No. Makes sense. We want to do it the right way. I'm just gonna go with the commit, and here it needs to be. Since we don't really care about the edge case, it can be SHA, or because the SHA can be undefined. I think, yeah. So like this. And now if I go here, refresh, and I try.
I think there's a benefit to doing what we did this way. Let's keep going and see what happens.
Okay. So let's paste it. All right. So there is something. Since it's test project, it could be. All right. The SHA exists, and the file as well. That's where I triggered the command. Works. Why is there a benefit in doing it this way, Paul?
When I say doing it where we're not solving the file SHA problem right now, because I think there is a problem we need to solve of the SHA being falsy, which can happen in IDs. So before we move to the best, where we get the SHA, the latest commit to touch the file, can we solve the problem where the SHA is falsy?
Yeah.
Also, you mean the head, there's no head, and so we don't have a SHA, right? Yeah, there's no head, and so we don't have a SHA. So that so he's kind of solved that. If you can do an or empty string or branch name.
What we were doing here with the get tracking branch, we just threw. So if we weren't able to get the branch, we threw a detached head error. And I think that that's perfectly fine. We can just like throw any error here, because the chance that you have a repository without a head is going to happen so like not often, that when you just see an error message here, because every command, like the error bubbles up to. So I can show you what I mean. Here is the commit, and I can say if there is no SHA, we are going to throw new user-friendly error, and that error gets message. And I don't have a detailed error, so I guess this particular error is not going to help me. I can just for now do error, and then we can have a look what errors we have predefined. But
I mean, does it give you a detached head error if you do, but you don't head? I mean, a detached head error is okay. I mean, we can trickle that up.
Detached head means that you are not on a branch, I assume. Like that would be
correct.
And we are here, we don't have to be on a branch, and it should still work, because we don't have that limitation anymore.
That's true.
I mean, if I understand this correctly, go ahead.
No, I was saying the only case where the head doesn't exist is when it's a new repository and you don't have anything in it, right?
Yeah. Or where you deleted it from your .git repository, .git index, or what it's called.
Yeah, you rewrite the index. Yeah, correct.
But this is definitely going to be this will definitely happen when we do the SHA by file, because if I've created a new file, haven't committed anything, haven't ever committed this file, and I run this command, like what do we want to do?
Right. But then we probably should have a different error for like the repository is in some messed up state, or its initial repository doesn't have any commits, or you just created a file that's not versioned. I don't know whether there is going to be easy way out how to get from that Git repository whether the file is versioned, but we'll see on the method. Like if we are doing git log on that file and the repository or Git responds that there is no commits for that file, that would be good enough for us to say that file is not in Git repository first committed.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Can we go ahead and create that function to move the SHA stuff to try to figure it out?
Yeah. Yeah. I was just going to show you how the error bubbles. Bubbles, and I'm going to invert this just so you see it. So now we are here. I'm going to refresh with command. What have I done? Command R. I'm going to run the command. The extension didn't load. That's why the commands weren't there yet. Error bubbles. This is how it would be visible to the user.
This is like Vista bubbles.
I don't know what Vista bubbles are, but
remember that old? There's not. When Vista came out, that was the big like screensaver thing for them, was these little bubbles going around your.
I remember that Vista had some voice control where you could like say click or something, and it would divide the screen into nine segments, and then you would be saying 3, and it would divide the third segment into 9 segments, and this way you would get into with 5 letters into the small enough area. And that was in Vista, and I thought that it's really cool. tried it for like 10 minutes, and then I was like, this is the dumbest thing ever.
That's so funny. That does feel like, Blade Runner inspired enhance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Let's add the
All right. We have
function.
let's do that. Let's just put it in here. We've got the repository. Let's actually have a look at the repository. Here we go, and see what can we do. Yeah. So div with head, div index, div blobs. Also, like if we would spend too much time on figuring out how to do this, we could go to some, like for example, GitLens is MIT licensed, and we could just have a look what API they use. But I usually try to figure it out by myself, because going through someone else's code is at least like a 10-minute thing. So if we can find it here without
I mean, I'm wondering whether we need the like, do we actually need to go back in history and look at the thing, or we just get the SHA of the blob? Because the blob is unique, right? Across commits, the blob would have the same SHA. And so if we just say fetch SHA with the blob ID, will it just give us that?
Okay. Did you see the method, or are you like just saying how you would do it with the git command?
No, I mean, the two ways to go do this, right? One is we could go to the log and look at, like, the two ways to solve this problem, right? One is we look at the log and we go back and we look at where this file was last modified, right? In my opinion, that's like a harder solution.
But you can get a log just for a file, and then you have first entry in that log is what you need.
And so I posted on the Zoom chat, you can use revlist for this thing. I don't know if we have revlist as a command yet, but if revlist supports a path.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So that'd be great if you could do that.
Right. And if I do, is there a better way how to get the head SHA better than git show? That's how I always do it. So the head SHA is now 9.
Yeah, I think show would do it.
So now this is the head SHA. I was just double checking that it's not the same. It's not. It's really probably the last thing that touched README. Cool. Let's have a look whether there is anything like revlist in what we have on offer, because this is what we are working with. We don't get any.
You need to go to the raw repo. Is this a raw repo?
This is the raw repo, because we have. I'll show you. We have a GitLab repo.
Oh, I see.
Do like repository, project repository extension wrapper maybe.
Okay, so we wrap it basically in.
Yeah. We have this repository, which is the one, but then we are wrap it somewhere. I can't remember the reason. Has the same raw repository.
Got it.
I think this might have been like when you are adding and removing. We are listening on changes to this. If you add a folder, it would add another repository here. And I think there was some reason why we needed to keep the reference to the repository itself, because they are not either they are like equal objects, or they are not, and you are comparing them on the root folder path. I can't remember, but there was a reason for it.
Okay, got it.
So this one. So this is what we are looking at. That's what we are getting from the Git extension in VS Code. That's what we can.
So what if you show ref path and then show ref and path? What will that give us?
A line.
Sorry, 166.
166. Show. All right, but then the ref.
No, we need the ref.
I think this is the get commit ref. No, that's not it. We don't need div. We are not hashing objects. Create branch, delete branch. Get merge base status checkout. Blame blame path, maybe.
Oh,
That
that's
could
cool.
be
Yeah. that's
something. It's going to give us string. So let's try to blame that path. Shall we?
Yeah, let's do that.
Sure.
All right. So here we try to say, oh,
You want it above, you want it below file path, right?
Yeah.
right. Okay. So what was it? Repository, a raw repository blame. And here we
So did
give
you
it
say
the,
that interface came from Git itself?
from the
From
Git
the,
extension.
it's from the extension, the Git extension for VS Code. They've published an interface because
I see.
you can require the whole extension, and that gives you a number of commands.
Oh, cool. Cool. Wow.
I noticed the colon equal to Damas.
Nobody
too
saw
much
that.
more.
I'm gonna cut it out of the recording. So now we have the SHA. Why is it complaining?
Is it its promise?
All
It is.
right.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
Wait, and let's see what happens here. And I'll put a breakpoint here just for a good measure. So actually, let's see what we would expect when we are in this test project. It's what I have open here. So if I'll go to terminal and I'll try this neat trick with wherever that was. Here we go. But I'm going to try it with, I think that I have a README here as well. So, okay, perfect. So let's try that. So README is FEFE. And if I go here and I'll refresh and I try to call the command Shift P. So we would expect FEFD to see here. All right. Yep. So, okay, that's nice, but not really. Like it's maybe good for us double checking, but we are not going to be able to export. Like,
oh yeah.
We could probably, but we don't want to unless that's our last option and there is no other way how to get that to SHA.
You mean extract out the string?
Yeah, we could extract, like if it always matches like head and then the partial SHA with space, we could totally extract it with regex and then get full ref for the short ref. Or maybe a GitLab even supports having the short ref in the URL, but like only if the Git extension doesn't give us anything.
I mean, what would be cool is if you could see the code for blame, right, in the main Git, the VS Code Git thing, and then we could just copy that.
All right, let's try that. So where was I? Here. Nope. Here we are. So we are in the, where would I search for this? Just maybe blame. This is the type. This is implementing this repository blame. If I open this and go to the definition, blame runs operation blame, which if I go here, I have no idea what that does. Just going to go back. Yeah. I don't know what I'm actually looking for.
We're looking for the, so this .repository.blame, what does that do? So if you go.
So should I go to the run, do you think? Yeah, right. I see what you mean.
But
args blame, sanitize path, and then here error result. Okay, so I guess that what we saw is the normal Git result of Git blame.
Yeah, it's running Git blame in this. Okay, so that doesn't help us.
So if we would go here and do J test, GL.
What does it actually do? Git show. Okay.
And if I do Git blame, readme.
Yeah, so that shows you exact.
Yeah, and so that. Okay, so it showed me that for probably first line, and I would have to somehow tell it But this looks like it's the line that we got.
Yep.
Okay. So that's not really what we need, right?
No, that doesn't help us. So I was thinking, one is, so if we do git show and we show the ref, what I'm thinking is that can we use git show ref comma path, right? So git show ref. First of all, what's hash object? Is that just hashing the? Okay, ignore me. So git show, if we pass it the SHA for the ref and the path,
Okay.
what does that give us?
Yeah, let's see. Can stop this. And so we would be here interested in raw repository show.
Yeah, and then
Right.
SHA comma file path. Yeah, and what does it give you?
Is that SHA or empty string, I guess? And here we could try SHA2. Perfect naming. Let's just commit this and be done with it. And I can run it then and see what we are gonna get. Debug anyway.
Debugging.
I think that this is annoying because it shows also errors, like linting errors are also like getting into that dialog saying that you've got errors there. That's not that great. I would wish only compile time errors to block me from running it. Could not show object. That's the error that we got here. If I just do this and try again, so we get the breakpoint here.
Does it need the full path?
Oh well, like full path. You mean the whole file system path?
Active editor document URIs FS path.
We can try that. So this is going to fail again. And where are we? Here we go. It's possible. I'll refresh. Once more. This SHA2.
Blame is
Readme.
giving us what we need.
It gave us the top line of the file
what
content,
kind of
I guess.
That doesn't make any sense. That really makes no sense. Okay, why don't we just run a raw command? Is there a way to run a raw command?
I think that there has to be a better way to do this. Maybe now we reach the point where we want to, like, what are the log options? Path. So I guess we just call log with the path and get the top level thing.
Max
Now
entries.
we are at time. I can continue going, or we can leave this for the next episode of make a permalink in VS Code. Up to you.
I think we got to leave for the next episode. Does that sound all right? Does that sound all right with you?
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Yeah, because I think it'd be interesting to also do the testing and stuff for this thing. And
I don't think that we are finished, but like I was just like if you have 5 minutes, I would just try to put the log in there just to see whether we at least have this part solved. But if anyone has a hard stop,
I see what you're saying. I thought you said you were just going to take care of it on your own. I was like, oh man.
No.
Let's end on a cliffhanger. Let's end on a cliffhanger.
All right. Deal.
Yeah, that's how you get them hooked. Cool. Thanks. Appreciate it, Tomas.
Thanks, Thomas.